The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds worth of sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this 21st day of November 2023. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod over there at SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app, and you save yourself $20 on your first purchase, whether it be for sports tickets, Christmas events, concerts, shows, whatever you want to do over at SeatGeek. They got it there for you for holiday gift ideas as well. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts as well. And it's Tuesday, so the boys over at Craft Brewed Sports will get her going again tonight. And thank you very much from all of us here at 1420 World Headquarters, writers, production staff, everything else that we got going on here, the on-air talent and everything here at 1420 World Headquarters. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and go to the 1420 Sports Bar.com and check out some of the great articles. We've got more coming up, and I put one up about the Columbus Blue Jackets and their struggles again this season and how that's going with Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine seeing the pine and everything else. Actually seeing the press box, so make sure you go check out that article and even if you're not a Blue Jacket fan, it's just some pretty good stuff, the little stuff to talk about around the old bar and having a pint. But anyways, yesterday, Tom Brady was on the Stephen A. Smith show talking about the mediocrity that's across the National Football League. And it's almost like old Tommy Boy was going back into the archives of the 1420 Sports Bar podcast back in its early beginnings. I think it was show number 5 or 6. I can't remember. It was so long ago, but it was one of the first times. I think it was actually the very first time that Dave was on the show before he became a regular contributor. And then now he's just the co-host of the show, the way that all turned out. And it's been great. But anyways, that was one of the very first things that Dave and I talked about, was the mediocrity that is the National Football League. And back then it was an 16 game season. Now it's 17. So just bear with me here. I stated a lot that every team was basically an 8-8 team, and you win a game, lose a game here and there. And then that's how you get to whatever your record might be, 10-6, 11-5, or 5-11, and that's the way it goes. And there's a very fine line between winning and losing in all sports, but in the National Football League especially. And Tom Brady's 100% correct in that statement. And he must be listening to the 1420 podcast, wherever it is you get your podcasts. And and that's the exact statement that we made a 3 years ago. So it just goes to show that me and Dave up here in the 1420 World Headquarters, we're well ahead of our time by making that statement. I don't think that Brady's wrong in his assessment. The league is watered down to the point where I don't want to say it's unwatchable, but it's just a lot different. And it's not better different by any means. The rule changes have changed the way the game is played. You don't have to be as pinpoint accurate with your passing schemes, because you're trying. Back then you had to protect your receivers a lot more. You had to protect your running backs a lot more. Your tight ends, you had to protect them a lot more, because the way the defense was played, you look at some old tapes, you just go back 20 years to when Ray Lewis was playing, and he was actually, like, I'm not going to make a joke about killing people, but he was actually he was hurting people a lot on the field. You look at Ronnie Lott, what he was doing, and then you go back even further. I know it was Mike Ditka's birthday about a month ago for one of our birthday tributes in the morning here, and the way that they were just absolutely hammering guys on a nightly basis, and it was unbelievable. And then Dave and I talked about last night on the show a little bit about you got lit up or whatever the NFL had when guys were getting hit, and they were laughing about it. And now that it's a good thing that there was protection for these guys to not get hurt, not get injured. So now that we know about concussions and CTE and the like, it's changed the way the game is played, and it's gotten to a point where the game is mediocre, and it's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that makes the game a lot different than it was. It's not a better game, and you don't have the elite athletes you used to have. Yes, they're bigger, faster, stronger. They're more fit, and the whole bit. We've been through that a number of times here at 1420 in the morning and on the 1420 podcast. past, but it's one of those things that you look back, you sit back when an all-time legend sees it, and he's not being old man or old guy on the porch, get off my lawn. And he didn't there was some misinterpretation about what he said, because he's only been out of the game for 1 year, and not even a year. So he wasn't saying back in my day 2 years ago. What he was making the statement is when he got back into the game 20 years ago, or however many years ago it was, when he replaced Drew Bledsoe there in New England when Bledsoe got hurt. And that's what he was talking about, was the legends that played back then, and the way the games were played, and the rivalries that were out there, and that you had some elite teams, and you had but there was more elite teams and more elite players. Now you have guys who are so interchangeable in the National Football League. They don't get a chance to be drafted and developed and become great players, because now quarterbacks, and I agree. I think Dave and I talked about this last night as well. So we're a little bit ahead of our time once again here. We kind of get things going a little bit. These guys must listen to the show; they have to. But anyways, it's kind of funny. Yeah, like you see guys like Tom Brady got drafted pretty low, didn't get a chance to play until Bledsoe got hurt. Yeah, you've always had quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3 overall and finding their way, but they a lot of times weren't forced into starting positions. They weren't forced into playing right now. It wasn't they were never brought in to save the franchise in the first year. Now you have quarterbacks a lot that they get drafted, and then it's right now. You got to play right now, because we are going to pay you this much money, and you are going to play, and you're the name, you're the face of the franchise, and you're in there before you learn how to be a pro. And that's a big problem. That you have a lot of these guys who leave college early, and they don't develop, because yes, college football is very demanding, very physical, but you have a situation now where these guys come out and they get big paychecks, and they haven't learned how to compete, and they're coming, they're 22, 23-year-old men, but they're getting hit by a 20-year-old freshman, or a 19-year-old freshman is a lot different than getting hit by a 6-year linebacker who's been a pro for 6 or 7 years, because it's just man strength compared to adolescent strength. And that's just the facts of the matter is. And so a lot of these quarterbacks, they don't get a chance to develop, they don't get a chance to be good, and you have a lot of quarterbacks, and look at it to other sports too, you get a lot of quarterbacks who flat out just aren't very good right now in the National Football League. You go to Mac Jones, Tim Tanner Boyle, Kenny Pickett. Yep, that might change in Pittsburgh now that Matt Canada was relieved of his duties this morning. Can't blame Canada anymore, everybody. That's one of those things. But you have all these guys, Will Levels, Justin Fields in Chicago isn't great. Tommy DeVito is not good at all with the Giants. Josh, like you have a lot of guys who just aren't great quarterbacks that are playing a lot in this league, because there's just not a lot of great quarterbacks available. Yes, it's because of injuries and everything else, but it just seems like there's not an influx of quarterbacks, and not a lot of name characters. Yes, you do have your elite guys, obviously, but there's a lot of guys who are quite bad. There was a lot of guys who are quite back 20 years ago as well, but it just seems like there's a lot of guys who are just underdeveloped, and they're forced into situations a lot more because salary cap implications, because of schemes, because of just not having good quarterbacks. Guys come out too soon. They haven't learned how to play. And I think that Brady is 100% right in his statement that the game's just not as good as it used to be anymore. We'll get back to Ray Lewis and how he used to play the game, and the hits that they used to just absolutely demolish guys out on the field. And it was every team had those guys, and it was crazy to think that the hits that Kareem Jackson of the Denver Broncos laid out on the weekend, targeting with the helmet and everything else, and lunging at guys and targeting and the whole thing, that was just the normal back in the day. So you had to be a lot tougher. Guys did get injured a lot more, or did they? Who knows? But it was just how Kareem Jackson's hit is so looked down on nowadays compared to what it was 20 years ago. The game was so much more violent, and you had to be a lot more aggressive. You had to be a lot stronger and everything else. Now that the way the rules have changed for the quarterbacks to be protected, because all those roughing the passing penalties that you see on a daily basis, it's quite ridiculous what happens there. So you got to look that sport in general, I don't think it's better, and it goes back a lot longer than just in the last couple of years. You like in the National Football League, and you look at hockey as well, you look at baseball as well, and basketball is the same thing, and that goes back to these travel teams and everything else, and how these guys that they compete for themselves. They never really compete for a team. They're compete like it's always been a thing, but it's at a different level now, where guys would compete to win. they would compete to not only get a scholarship or to get a pro contract or whatever it might have been, but back then you would compete to win for your high school, for your community team, and you weren't traveling miles and miles and miles just because you wanted to be showcased to a bunch of scouts. It's a lot like players played to win a lot more than they do now, and that's a big thing of why the professional sports is kind of watered down now. Is that these guys have never really had to win before, and they don't know what it takes to win a game. They know how to compete for themselves and maybe compete maybe for a line mate, but they're so focused on their own brands, their own self-recognition, their own promotions and everything else that it might be, that I feel that they don't have an opportunity to learn to develop how to be on a team, and being part of a team is a big thing. Steve Sarkisian said it was on Twitter this morning, University of Texas Longhorns football coach, about the how to be part of a team and how to be a movement and everything else, and how it seems to be lost a little bit, and how you to be part of something. And it's what I'm talking about here is the exact same thing, is that these players don't have the same will to win that they've had in the past. They've never had to win because it was always like, way to go Jimmy, way to go Billy, way to go Tommy, or whoever it might be, that you did good, and who cares if the team lost because we got your stats are good and your launch angles this and your on ice percentage is this, and your expected goal rate was this, and it's just all these extra stats that get pumped into these kids' heads. They don't know how to win games. They don't know how to win events, and that's what Brady, I think, is talking about a lot. Is that compete level and the mediocrity that's out in the football field and all sports in general. It's out there on a daily basis, and it's too bad that some of these great athletes aren't showing. It's not all athletes, but it's just there's a good percentage of guys who just aren't that good compared to what it was 30 years ago. The money is so big. It's so big, and that's the problem that you have, is that the money is so big at a young age, and it's put into these kids' heads that this is what it's going to be. I'm here to not win a championship. I'm not here to win the MVP of the team. I'm here to get my name out there and get paid. And that's all it's about. And it's hurting professional sports. It's hurting minor sports. And that's what we have now with the mediocrity in sports. It's a great drama coming down the stretch, 100%. 100%. When you have a bunch of teams that are 8-8 on the last week of the season, then if you win or lose, then you're in the playoffs. It's more exciting. If you have a bunch of teams who are right on the wild card bubble on the last week of the Major League Baseball season, it's great drama. 100%. It's fun to watch, but it doesn't make it a good product. There's some bad baseball. Like you talk about the NFL being mediocre and a lot of crap that goes on there, and how I don't want to say unentertaining, because there's still some entertaining games. There's still some plays that are great, but it's not the most entertaining brand of football that I've seen in my 49 years on God's green earth. And you look at baseball, how it's changed with the way the stats are. And I'm going to bring up launch angle. I'm going to bring up how many strikeouts there are per game, and that's exactly what what everybody's talking about. How it's just not as competitive as it used to be. You have pitchers now who go out, they get their 6 innings. Blake Snell just won himself a Cy Young. 6-inning Blake. That's what he's going to be for his entire career. Like, you look how many no hitters and how many innings pitched and complete games a guy like Nolan Ryan had. Heck, even Roger Clemens, or even you go back even like Clayton Kershaw early in his career. Now these guys are so concerned, and the way the metrics are, they're so concerned about getting into a game, making sure their stats are okay, and then that's it. And that's it, because that's how they get paid on their stats, because winning is hard. Not every team can win, so they don't get based on your paychecks don't get based on how many championships you win. It'll always help you, but it's not gonna hurt you if you don't have any, because your metrics say this, like expected goal rate says this, so you know what, I'm a good hockey player. Well, no, you're not. Like, you're not. Yeah, you can skate like the wind. Yeah, you can do this, and your 40 is this and everything else, but you're not a good athlete. You're not a good player. Actually, you're a good athlete. You're not a good team guy. Like, you can do all the things, and it looks great on the YouTube video, but when you blend it all together, but you haven't learned how to win a championship. And I think that's right across sports. And I 100% agree with Tom Brady that there's a problem in the National Football League, and it goes right across to all sports. And I see it with my own eyes a lot when I do umpire college baseball games. You see the same thing where these guys are swinging their launch angle, and they're saying goofy, oh, it's a good swing. That's a hard 90. Well, you're still out. Who cares? Like my exit velocity is this. What was a ground ball to third base? You're still out. So it's all these things that you look at, and it's how the mediocrity of teams and not of the individuals, but like the athletes are faster and stronger, not as but not the man strength, right? Just not the gur of a game. And like you look at pictures of athletes nowadays, college football players now compared to what they were 30 years ago. You look at junior hockey players, the pictures of them now compared to what they were 30 years ago. The guys were just men back then, and it's different breeding, different health. I mean, guys used to smoke and drink like it was their job back in junior hockey back 30, 40 years ago, and compared to what now kids with their keto diets and whatever drinks they're getting to get themselves through the day. So it's just it's different. It's not better. It's not better by any means. It's not better. The athletes aren't as hard. They aren't as pampered back then as they are nowadays. The athletes are just different. It's not a better product by any means. We'll still keep talking about it, keep enjoying it. Every game there is still something that has changed, and evolution has changed. Evolution has changed in the world of sports, and sports medicine and the stuff we know now has changed things a lot. But it's not a better product on the field, and I agree 100% with Tom Brady. Or it's the other way around. Tom Brady agrees 100% with what we are spouting here at the 1420 World Headquarters. Anyways, there's a little rant for the day to get you guys going in the right direction. Make sure you guys go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and also make sure you go to the 1420sportsbar.com and check out all the articles and everything else. The guys are putting in a lot of work in on a daily basis for your reading pleasure. Anyways, here is a little word from our friends over at SeatGeek. Give Santa and his elves a break from the grind this Christmas season and ask for tickets from SeatGeek. SeatGeek has tickets for shows, concerts, and sporting events from around the globe. And by using promo code 1420POD, you will save $20 on tickets. Tickets make for great stocking stuffers and gifts, so go to SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app for all of your ticket needs this holiday season and use promo code 1420POD today for your Christmas ticket. There you go, SeatGeek, old Santa Claus. Give him a rest and go to SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app, and get yourself some tickets so Santa and the elves don't have to go so hard in the old workshop this holiday season. Fort Macleod. If you're in the Alberta, southern Alberta area, or southern BC, or wherever you might be, head out to Fort Macleod over the weekend. My hometown, the homeland, the 46th, whatever Santa. I don't know, it's 46 or 40-year anniversary, or whatever it is. I can't remember of the Santa Claus parade is happening at Main Street, 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. Actually, years ago, my dad used to have a hardware store in Fort Macleod, and the town office was right next to my parents' hardware store, and there was no signups for the first Santa Claus parade, and things were looking pretty bleak. But Steve stepped up to the plate, and Margaret made a bunch of costumes, and I had a hockey game that day, so I didn't get to participate. But if you look, there's some old pictures. Maybe I'll find them, put them up on the website or up on the Twitter account or Facebook account of the very first Santa Claus parade in Fort Macleod that my parents were. They helped out make sure it got off on the right foot, and my sister and brother, and then an employee of the store. She had her kids on the float, and Dad's driving the truck, and I just bored everybody to heck. But it's just a good memory of how we kick off the Christmas season out there in Fort Macleod, and it kind of coincides with American Thanksgiving, which is a Thursday, and it's a great day for football and everything else. I kind of miss going down there. I got to get back down there for American Thanksgiving. Anyways, there's my little more talking for today. I don't mind talking a little bit. It was funny, like I do these. On this days and birthdays on a daily basis all the time, and we're doing it for a year now, and I can't remember what I had this year or last year or whatever, what's going on, but I do that. So I do this every day, and I get the research team on things, and we make sure we aren't doing this. It turned out like today in sports history over the years, nothing really happened. There was a few guys got named the NL MVP or the ML MVP or whatever it might be, but nothing really happened of noteworthy to even put it in your guys' ears on this day in sports history. So we only have a happy birthday, and then we have a who is better from last night's 1420 Sports Bar podcast. It's already up on YouTube, the who is better segment, so go out and check that out. But had a pretty intriguing one that Dave got a little bit stumped on, as did I, that I think you guys will enjoy, and it'll be up there later on this morning. So make sure you guys give the 1420 Sports Bar podcast a listen later on. So anyways, here is birthdays, and then we will get to the who is better, and then get you guys out of here. Happy 54th birthday to Baseball Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr., born on this day in 1969 in Donora, Pennsylvania. Griffey was drafted by the Seattle Mariners in the first round of the and first overall of the 1987 Major League Draft at Archbishop Mole High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. Griffey made his Major League debut at the age of 19 on opening day in 1989 versus Dave Stewart and the Oakland A's, and promptly hit a double in his first Major League at-bat. Highlight in his young career came the next season when junior and senior hit home runs in the same game versus the California Angels. Griffey played in 13 All-Star games in his career that spanned 22 seasons, 13 in Seattle, 9 in Cincinnati, and a brief cup of coffee with the Chicago White Sox. Griffey hit 630 home runs, 1,836 RBIs, 284 over his career. And one thing that doesn't get brought up enough in his, he did it all during the PED era. And for all intent and purpose, Griffey did it very clean and everything else. There's Ken Griffey Jr.'s last base hit in a Seattle Mariners uniform. He was an all-time Hall of Fame player, one of the greatest to ever get going. So Ken Griffey Jr., happy 54th birthday to the kid. One of the sweetest swings in baseball history. One of those guys. Doesn't matter. He's one of those guys. He was a baseball player. The defense doesn't get brought up enough because of that swing he had to, and his offensive numbers were so great. But people forget how great of a defender he was out in center field there, and just an awesome player. To one of those things. Anyways, here's our little segment from Who Was Better last night. Little intriguing. I don't know if you guys know what Who Was Better is about. I'm sure if you listen to the show, you'll give it. But if it's your first time listening to the 1420 in the morning or the 1420 podcast, thank you very much. But Who Is Better? I take similar names that have like one is sports related guy and then one from other parts of the entertainment world, and they have the similar like first name or similar last name. It's a who is better, this guy or that guy, and then me and Dave discuss who is better. Pretty simple little situation here. So here, have a listen to something from last night's show. Dave, who is better, Charlie Sheen or Charlie Hustle?
Oh, Jesus, you're really taking some guys that have some
jaded past.
Some definitely chinks in the armor on these guys that you're giving me tonight. Charlie Hustle or Charlie Sheen? Charlie Sheen here's the thing. They were both so good, gifted people at their jobs. Yeah. Charlie Sheen back in the day, with Wall Street, with Platoon. And then once he started making crazy money, he made those comedies. And then he was a comedic actor from then on, just making crazy bank. Loved his sex workers, loved his cocaine. Charlie Hustle. He was so good at his craft. Total fucking asshole. I don't know how many friends that guy actually may have had in his entire life. Liar. He's a liar. And he's made some questionable choices as far as his female companionship goes in his later life. I don't think he really deserves any redemption.
There it is from last night's 1420. Who is better? Make sure you guys go check that out today on YouTube. It's there's 5 other ones we did. So it's a half an hour little video there that we get really in-depth journalism there for your guys' entertainment and your listening pleasure. There it is from 1420 last night. Thank you very much to everybody who listens to the show and takes time to listen to all our drivel that we put out there. We like doing it. And we'll keep putting it out there as long as you guys keep listening and downloading and all that stuff. And the positive feedback keeps coming. So we really appreciate all this going on here. All of us. Anyways, that's it for today. We'll get back to you tomorrow with another 1420 in the morning. Got to get back on we wrap it up and do it all over again for you guys every day here, Monday to Friday from 1420 World Headquarters. That's it for today, folks. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a good day, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.